And we're gonna come down and kind of tone this metallic stuff down a lot. But this is sort of like the base, the start. But yeah, for everyone that's come in recently, thanks for that again. Just to introduce myself a bit, if it's okay with everyone. My name is Epo Dempsey Roll, aka Rayo, and yeah, I paint miniatures. I've been building lately some plastic model kits, Japanese plastic model kits, Plamo Gundams. I kind of recently got back into the hobby as of like a few months ago, thanks to like everyone around me getting into it too, getting back into it. We all did this sort of thing as teenagers, and then we all kind of got back into it at the same time. And similarly, I've been into like the Warhammer hobby as well, and as a teenager, and I've gotten back into that pretty recently as well. So I'm kind of rediscovering all the things that I used to like to do as a wee lad, as a teen, getting back into it. So yeah, I really like how it pops the metallic already, right? It's looking pretty nice. But we're gonna kind of tone it down and kind of make it look a little more grimy and worn out. Kind of want to be careful. And this shoulder pad here, I think I'll just do all bronze. Let's see. Let's see how that looks. So I've never used this brand of color before. This color from Vallejo, and it's actually half decent. So far, I'm liking it. And yeah, I'd like to do a decent amount today. We'll see how much we can do. If I can slap on a coating of paint on most of this model, other than the primer coating, then I'll be pretty happy. And the skin isn't finished yet. That's sort of like the first thing I really worked on was the skin. And it's not done. But I figured let's kind of move on from the skin and kind of work on everything else. Ideally, I'd like to finish this model like this month. If I can do that, I'll be pretty happy. And I do have I I am thinking about making a diorama for this as well. Um and I have some miniatures in mind. I'd have to actually buy them. But I want to do like a snow scene, like a frosty, snowy scene, right? And I want to buy some effects. What do they call it? Like effects paint or whatever for snow. And I want to put some snow on top of this guy and then a bunch of snow on the base. Maybe like a tree or a hill covered in snow. I've never done that before. Never used any kind of um, effect paint like that. So I think that might be kind of fun. Maybe, hopefully. Okay. So that is just about almost everything covered as far as the metal goes. These look to be spikes. I don't know if these spikes should be metal or should they be wood, but let's just color them metal now. See how we like that. Yeah, this metal actually looks pretty nice. Do, 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 do. Yeah, and my understanding is that the Vallejo game color is more glossy, than the Vallejo model color. So yeah, I'd like to find some Vallejo model color at some point and try out some of that. So I think that'll probably be better. But for now, we'll just work with this stuff. And this is another piece of metal that we can color brass as well. It's like a metal bracelet that has been covered in some wrapping, some bandages, so we can cover that up. Yeah, I had this idea in mind of having like a battle scene with this giant frost giant, to be redundant, and I wanted maybe like some barbarians either fighting alongside him or fighting against him. I actually haven't decided yet. And I saw that there's a D&D, there's like some D&D miniatures. There's a race called Furbolgs. And yeah, I have to confess I don't know too much about D&D. But yeah, I saw that there was these miniatures called like Furbolg barbarians, and I think I want to use those miniatures. They're bigger than they're bigger than humans, but not as big as this guy here, right? So I think that might look cool if we have Furbolgs fighting a frost giant like this or something. I haven't really thought too much about the diorama. I just know I kind of want to make one. We'll see. I need to also keep in mind that I might have some ambitious ideas, and I have to make sure that any idea that I have for a diorama, like, is it doable? Can I do it with my current level of skill? I mean, it's a good idea to be ambitious, for sure. But, like, I can't keep piling on crazy ideas on top of crazy ideas. I need to, like, if I want to see this thing done, I need to, like, kind of pare it down to a couple of ideas. A couple of solid ideas for a diorama. There we go. The brass. It's looking brassy. So, one thing that I've been practicing off stream, and in fact, before I even started streaming, because I'm still a fairly new streamer after all, but one thing that I've been practicing off stream was this whole technique called non-metallic metal. I don't really know if it's a thing in the world of Gunpla necessarily, but in the world of like miniature painting, Warhammer painting and stuff, that's a it's a technique that you see often, and it's a technique that's used uh, in like what's the word I'm looking for? In like competition painting. It's sort of considered a high level skill, I guess, if you can pull it off. And it's essentially like if you take a think about any kind of famous painting, Renaissance painting, uh, 12th, 13th, 14th century painting. Whenever there's armor, right, or metal, it's not like the painter. It's not like Michelangelo used metallic paint like I'm using now, right? It's not like he has a bottle of brassy brass, brazen brass from Citadel Miniatures or something. Maybe he did. Maybe he's a time traveler. But yeah, he would basically paint the look of metal using, like illustrating it, conveying the sense of reflectivity, how it bounces off light, the contrast, all of that stuff. All of that is painted to look like how metal looks in real life. And so that's something that has made its way into the world of miniature painting as well. And it's actually a really cool technique. I can't say I'm very successful at doing it. I'm a noob. I'm still practicing that. But today, for this model, we're not going to be using non-metallic metal. We're just going to be straight up using metal paint, because the results look nice, as you can see. And yeah, it's actually it's pretty fun to do as well. And even painting with metallic paints like this, that's That's like a whole world that like that has been kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, explored more in depth. There's a lot of paint manufacturers out there that make different kinds of metallic paint with sometimes with like real metal in it to really get the look of reflectivity and metal and stuff. It's really interesting stuff. But you know, I'm not trying to win any kind of competition or anything. I'm just trying to paint this giant here. Trying to get this guy done. There you go. Today in Ontario, Canada, the weather is poop. It's just kind of a dreary, foggy, rainy day. It's not too nice, unfortunately. Last few days have been actually really, really nice. Um, as far as weather goes, it's been really bright and sunny. I was like, oh, we're here. We made it, guys. The weather's actually half decent in Ontario for once. But no, we're back to some dreary ass weather. Agent, sunny and not too hot here in NB. Is that Nebraska? Am I correct in saying that? But yeah, yeah, lucky you. It's it's not too great over here right now, but you know, you kind of get used to it after all. I have a regular here that is from England, and he often remarks on the weather there. You know, it's just like it just goes from rainy day to rainy day, and like I think he was saying like he's lucky if like 2 to 3 times a month he gets nice weather. New Brunswick, New Brunswick. Okay, cool. Fellow Canuck over here. That's cool. Cool, cool, cool. I don't know. I just always assume like that someone's American. My initial, even though I am Canadian, like I just kind of assume that a lot of people that come through here are Canadian. Sorry, American, but it's actually not true. I don't know. I don't look at the statistics. I don't really look at like the breakdown of who's coming into my stream. It could be actually a lot more Canadians than I actually would have thought, which is pretty cool. Yep, so we're just working on the brass. There's a whole lot more brass to do. I'm realizing that there's like all this stuff that looks like metal kind of underneath other stuff like cloth and wrapping, so I kind of have to be careful, and I probably should switch my brush. Let's do that now as I'm talking and realizing what I need to do. Let's switch my brush and get a smaller brush. Probably a safe assumption. Yeah, actually, yeah. American. Also depends on the time zone too. This is just about the regular time that I stream, and so for anyone on the West Coast Canada, West Coast US, this might not be the best time for them to come in, but it's sort of like the best time for me to stream because like that's when I that's when I have like the most brain power, because early in the morning I basically have my brain doesn't function. I can barely think straight. And then at night I'm like so sleepy and ready to go to bed, so I have a hard time trying to stream at night. Although I did stream at night last time, the last time I streamed. So I take it that you have finished, you're up to date in Hajime no Ippo. Is it ending? I feel like it's going to end fairly soon, Agent. That's a pretty long-running manga. Pretty cool. I feel like, what's been running longer, that one or One Piece? Probably Hajime no Ippo, although One Piece has been going on for a good long time as well. And I'm pretty sure that that Ippo is wrapping up, kind of like getting into its final arc or something like that. As far as One Piece goes, I'm not really sure. I'm not too up to date on One Piece. Okay. No, the general opinion is that Morikawa may go before finishing. May go before finishing Ippo, same as his former. Oh no, don't. Oh no, Miura. Oh man, what a bummer. Actually, it was. We just had the anniversary of Miura's passing. Kentaro Miura, the author of Berserk. I was really bummed out about that. When the news dropped about that, man, that was a huge bummer. And I have to say that I'm kind of like late in joining the chorus of Berserk. I kind of read it maybe like 2 years ago or something like that. But I fell in love. Like, wow, it's an amazing work of fantasy. It's an amazing work of fiction that I feel like transcends manga. Like yes, it's a manga, but I think for me personally, I feel like you could categorize it alongside some of the greatest works of fantasy, like Lord of the Rings or something like that. It's kind of in that conversation. It just happens to be that the story is told through manga form rather than like a book. But it's a beautiful story, and I was so bummed that Miura died. But yeah, I have no idea what they're going to be doing with Berserk from now on. Do you think they'll continue the story, or will they just let it end there? I have no idea. Ba-ba. Agent. It's been a grind. I've enjoyed it the whole way, but it's definitely been a grind week to week. Well, props to him for putting out a story every week. Like, wow. Because Berserk obviously had its days where it would just not have a new chapter for months and possibly even years, or like a solid year before a new chapter dropped. So shout out to Hajime no Ippo Murakawa. Bacon, what is up, Bacon? And Kentwan is in the house. Kentwan and Bacon and Kentwan, but never Kentwan and Mojo at the same time in my chat. Very mysterious. Agent, they're keeping it really close to the vest about whether they go forward with Berserk or not. Yeah, so what are your feelings on that, Agent? For me, my feeling is I'd be fine if they just end it right there. Like, yeah, the story isn't complete, but you know what? I'm kind of okay with that. I'm sure that there's plenty of people that would want to see a conclusion, even if it means it's created by someone else, his assistants. But yeah, I don't know. If they just ended it there, I'd be kind of okay with that. But I would have an open mind too. I have an open mind about them continuing it. But I guarantee you there will be plenty of people out there that will just kind of reject whatever comes out based solely on the fact that, it's not Miura. I could see that very easily. Agent, if they have enough data and notes, which I feel like, yeah, I feel like there probably is a decent amount of notes that he left about where he wanted the story to go and stick to it. I'd be fine with it continuing. Just don't make it up yourselves. Yeah, yeah. I'd be kind of okay with that. And his assistants are really, really talented too, and they probably do a lot more work on the manga than they probably get credit for. Like I'm sure that they're able to kind of they understand the feeling and the vibe of the comic. Bacon, I kind of hope they just leave Berserker alone. Yeah, yeah. I'm 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 with you on that, but I'm also like if they also continue it as Agent was saying, I'd kind of be okay with that, so long as there was the notes and everything. Either way, I could take it either way. You know, what I'd really want is a remake of the anime. Start the anime from the beginning again, and let's just get an amazing studio to work on it from the start. You know, get the guys that did the first two seasons of Attack on Titan, get Madhouse, get Mappa. Is that a good one? I forget. Um, any of those studios, get someone really really good to do the anime from the start again, and I would be very very happy about that. Agent, it'll never stand up to the rest of the series. Yeah, the biggest problem is how they replicate his art. I suspect that a lot of his assistants are probably pretty good at at approximating his art, and his art also started to get into a lot of digital stuff at a certain point. At a certain point, there was a tremendous amount of digital stuff going on. So I imagine there's a lot of pre-made assets as far as environments go. The characters themselves probably didn't. There was probably not like some kind of like computer-generated model of guts, for example, that they can use, or maybe there is. I don't know. But yeah, I think that they were. I think his assistants are really good because there's that other comic book that Miura was working on, another manga that he was working on, alongside Berserk for a while. Now the name of it I forget, but it starred like this little cherubic little boy character who had like it was like almost like a Greek fairy tale almost. And I think that one, while Miura got like the main credit there, I think a lot of the artwork was from the assistants. I don't have the facts behind that all, but that's just something that I picked up on. I don't know. Agent, I want the last 5 minutes of the newest anime. Rewatch the last scene in the tavern. That should have been the entire two seasons. Okay. I actually haven't seen the anime at all. So I'm not really sure what is the breakdown of that. Like what's the issue behind that? I just know that I don't really like that whole CG look to the show, and I would really like just another hand-drawn animated version. But man, what a great series. Bacon, I'm sure someone out there can do a good imitation, but there might be lots of nuance that is lost. Yeah, yeah. It's that's for sure. That's for sure. I'm also kind of willing to accept um maybe it's because I'm also very used to American comic books where it's like it's not like there's been one person drawing Spider-Man their entire life, right? Spider-Man has had just about hundreds, maybe even thousands of artists working on it. Spawn, typically we associate Spawn with Todd McFarlane, but there's been a number of artists behind Spawn, blah blah blah. So I'm kind of okay with someone that can approximate his style, even if it means it's not like 100% amazingly perfect. I'm kind of willing to accept that, just coming from that sort of American comic book background, maybe. Agent, the two most recent seasons Was that god awful CG? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. But the last scene in the tavern is almost pure animation, and it's gorgeous. Why? Okay, can you can you explain why that even happened? Like, what's up with that? Because I'll have to check that out then, because that sounds really interesting. But why did they only reserve just the last two the last scene in the tavern? That's very interesting. And it looks gorgeous. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out on YouTube. That sounds sweet. I always love looking at really awesome animation. And it's such a drag sometimes when like a comic or sorry, and a manga comes out that you're really looking forward to, and then the and then the animation is like blah. The animation sucks. That really bums me out. When did that happen most recently? Most recently with One Punch Man season 2, that was quite a drag. The quality of animation just went down the toilet. Um, yeah. At least Mob Psycho 100 still has really nice animation. Ooh, my hand was shaking a bit. I think I need to get another one of these really long brushes. I really like painting with this long brush. It just holds a lot of paint. It comes to a fine tip. One thing I'm curious about is what should I color the um the parts underneath this brass here? I'm actually not sure. I'll have to think about that. Now you guys can't see, but there's my wet palette here. Bacon, One Punch Man season 2 was disappointing. Yeah. Although that being said, the actual story of One Punch Man at that point in time, like it was already kind of trending towards like something not terribly interesting. And so yeah, like maybe it would have to. I don't know. I don't know what I really want to say. I feel like the first season of One Punch Man was so wonderfully animated, and the story itself was so inventive and original that it really complemented each other. But by the time we get to the story in part two, we're already getting to kind of a more typical battle action manga territory, and so along with that, the animation being like kind of very typical, unimpressive stuff, it kind of complements each other, I guess. I don't know. Then, that being said, like, I'll always favor amazing animation. And one of the nice things that they did with season one was that, there was a lot of. It's not like they just literally took the panels and the setup and the staging of the panels and then animated it. They actually really kind of enhanced the story that was in the manga with animation. There was a lot of, decisions as an animation director that were taking place to really enhance the story. And what we saw in season 2 was like the total opposite. It was like, let's just faithfully replicate everything that happens in the manga scene for scene, and then and yeah, you can just feel it. Like there's less of that like directorial authorship. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Mika, hey Mika, how's it going? The giant looks nice. Cool, thanks. I appreciate it. It's looking all right. We still have a decent way to go, but we're making progress. We're making progress. Dyslexia 100. No, dude, I mistype things all the time. Not a big deal. I don't think my fingers are that fat, and yet I still mistype a lot of stuff. Bacon, I think the overall quality of the anime has gone up a bit. Of anime has gone up in the past few years. Oh, like broadly speaking of anime? Yeah, I guess so. Shows like Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen have really raised the standards, and even a show like, say, My Dress Up Darling, like you can tell that like a lot of love and attention was paid to like making the animation just really nice, which is great. Like, even shows like that are getting nice animation. I'm down for that. I'm down for that for sure. I guess back in the day we just kind of accepted. Well, you know what? I think there was an era like in the 90s, like the mid to late 90s, maybe even early 2000s, where animation was actually pretty good, and then it kind of, yeah, then there was this drop off, and incidentally, I kind of stopped paying attention to anime for a good long while. And around the time of like One Punch Man coming back, not coming back, but One Punch Man getting animated, sort of when I came back to watching anime. And then, yeah, I was starting to notice like there's just so many good, well, I don't know about so many, but like a lot of good animation out there. But yeah, Demon Slayer, so good. Even Attack on Titan has had its kind of ups and downs with the animation, because that they had two animation studios. The first one was, I want to say, Mappa. First one was really really good, and the second studio wasn't as good. And one of the iconic things about Attack on Titan, the first two seasons, was that really thick outline. All the characters had this really bold, thick outline, almost like they used like a chunky marker to like kind of go around the every character. And you can actually see it in Ranking of Kings as well. But then by the time season 3 and the subsequent seasons came around, they dropped that. Well, it was a different studio entirely, and it was noticeable. Mika, I've got smaller hands than most men, but I still mistype. Oh, yeah, I guess it just happens to everyone. I don't know if you're typing on like a. It's funny. I often attribute my bad typing to typing on mobile, like a iPad or whatever, on a mobile device, and the autocorrect will like screw me up, and make me sound like a dum dum. Uh, but actually, I mistype on a keyboard as well. This keyboard here, it's a fairly old keyboard, and sometimes I type really far away from like the signal transponder thing, and the infrared signal, and it just doesn't read my inputs. Let's catch up with a chat. Classic Naruto is still good. Yes, I remember the Rock Lee scene that Bacon is mentioning. I watch that every once in a while because it was so good. And I'm not even too familiar with Naruto. But I do remember that scene. I think Bacon showed it to me. Like, oh, you gotta see this scene. Ba-ba. Bacon, even isekais are looking better. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I haven't really watched many isekais on principle. Mika, that was good indeed. Rock Lee, yeah. Agent, the 90s style of anime, the peak of cell animation, definitely a style all of its own. So distinct and iconic, yeah. And actually, I don't know if we can like even point to like the ending of that era. Like, I don't know if we can point to a single anime where we can say like, oh, that was it. That was the end of that era. But um, Cowboy Bebop came out in, I believe, 1999, and that was like, to me, one of the last few examples of of like a purely hand animated cell, like hand painted animation and coloring and stuff. Um, Maybe there was computer involved as well, but yeah, that was one of those examples where I was like, wow. Like, if you fire that up today and watch it, you'll just be so impressed. And then there was Redline too. Mika, Might Guy, and Madura. Kakashi and Obito was really good. Okay, you guys are going off on Naruto. I think that's the extent of my knowledge was Rock Lee. It's goated. That was goated. Mika, I'm on keyboard, but I'm on a computer that's plugged into the TV with an HDMI cable. Actually, that's pretty much how I'm working right now too. Mm, Bacon peak 90s animation still sends chills down my spine, especially some of the OVAs. I think if you I think there's a Twitter account called like 90s era anime, and they literally just post gifs of really awesome 90s era animation, like 10-second clips of like electronic things unfurling and like hand drawn hologram shit that you know, like just really impressive stuff. I should find that account again. Okay, I think we've gotten every single piece of metal. Let's just clean our brush, and we're gonna have to do a quick look, an examination of. Oh, yo, holy shit! Um, so today we have window cleaners coming to clean up the windows in our condo here, and I just saw like the ropes of the window cleaner descending down in front of my window. So let me. It's kind of distracting, so let me close that window. Mika, I'm watching Tokyo Revengers, and it's goated. Tokyo Revengers. Giant Robo. Oh yeah. Oh my god, Giant Robo. Classic. And again, just purely that's pure hand animation. Gorgeous stuff. I like to watch Giant Robo every couple of years just to remember how amazing it is. Maybe maybe I'm due for another rewatch. Really good stuff. Oh, and as far as hand animation goes, there was Redline, which is pretty old by now, but at the time it was kind of seen as like one of the last few hand animated movies, and I think it literally took like 8 years to make or something, just because it was all hand animated. But it's amazing. Definitely watch Redline. I think it's actually free on YouTube. You can just watch it free, like officially on YouTube. And I always maintain that Redline is the true Speed Racer movie. The Speed Racer movie that we got from the Wachowskis was kind of okay, but I don't know. Just watch Redline. Watch both, and tell me if you like which one you like more. I feel like you'll come out saying Redline is better. So let me take a look at this, guys. Let me just quickly examine this model here and see if I've gotten all the metallic parts necessary on this chap, on this big boy. We want to nail all the metal parts before we move on to something else. And I think, yes, I think we've successfully got all the metal. Although, yeah, I'm noticing some around here, so let's do that. That's one of the advantages of spraying a model black, is that you can like miss stuff. You can miss painting some areas, like this under armpit area here that I'm working on, and it's like, that's okay. It's all just black. It's shadow anyways. It's fine. But I sprayed this. I primed this guy a very dark gray, thinking I could kind of get away with what I was saying about using straight up black. And no, it's not the same. Not quite the same. So just pardon me for a moment, guys, while I nail all these areas. Get all the silver here. We also have to account for like the parts of the model that display depth. Like that. The edges. Yeah. Yeah, there was a good period of time where I was sort of out of the loop with anime and not really paying attention, but now I find it really fun to kind of catch up on like what's going on, what's the big anime for this season. I think that's really fun. Does that mean I'm going to go to an anime convention anytime soon? I don't know about that. I did go to a comic convention. Well, it was sort of like a general geeky convention in Ottawa like just general geeky activities. And that was actually pretty fun. And there was definitely a lot of cosplay going on too, which was kind of neat. Seeing cosplay again. Bacon, didn't the studio go bankrupt after making Redline? It was wasn't it Madhouse though? Madhouse is still around, aren't they? Mika, got papers spread all around my desk, so I'm gonna clear them all up. Lurking? Okay, cool, cool. Enjoy your lurk. Appreciate you stopping by. Mika's always a very supportive fellow that comes into my chat and hangs out. Very cool guy. Let's ask Google Sensei. So one thing that I'm noticing with this metallic paint is that it's quite shiny. It's quite glossy in a way that I'm not used to. Uh, this is Game Color from Vallejo, and they make. Night Trap was telling me about this, but basically, Game Color from Vallejo is intended for play. Like if you're painting models with the intent of playing them with board games or Warhammer or whatever, this is a good paint to use because it has that like they include a bit of gloss varnish or something like that in the formula of this paint, so it has that kind of hard glossy texture to it that that makes it like kind of better to handle, and they're not going to flake or chip as much, right? But Vallejo makes a second brand of color called Model Color, and that they take out the gloss in it, and it's that's more for like competition painting or painting models with the intent of display rather than play. And so yeah, it's not as glossy. However, so I mean, my reaction is naturally I'd want to get more of the model color because I do play Warhammer and smaller board games. I have played them in the past, but not lately and not with any degree of frequency. So I feel like just going for something more for presentation is better. That being said, when it comes to metallics, I think that sort of glossy look kind of works in its favor. And we can always kind of tone it down anyways and bring it down, which is definitely what we're going to do. But yeah, not the bad. Bacon, it is Madhouse. Okay. Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so Madhouse is still around, right? What have they done recently? Since you're already asking Google Sensei, what are they working on now? What are the top animation studios in Japan? Excluding like Studio Ghibli. Like who are the top animation studios for anime? I would like to know. Okay. Let's continue painting because I am noticing some more parts that have not got any of the base coat of bronze. Now I'm thinking that this is supposed to be some decorative sculpture, like a decorative design on the brace itself, rather than a piece of cloth. I was leaving out this part here because it seemed like it was kind of like cloth draped over some metal. But looking at it again, it seems like it's more like like a design on top of the metal, like some decorative design. So let's just color it all bronze. That's the thing about some of these models I'm noticing, like, and I've talked about this before. It's like the details are soft in some places, and it's just not very clearly defined. What is a detail? Like what is hair and what is metal? Sometimes it just seems very soft. So you kind of have to decide for yourself what you're gonna color some parts of this model. But yeah, for the sake of clarity, let's just color it all. I feel like bronze would be a very sensible kind of metal to work with for these giants. Brass and bronze, it's a very it's a primitive kind of metal to work with that like a more simple-minded race like giants might be able to understand how to work with, rather than something like steel, right? Something like that. I don't know. Just making crap up. All right. I think that is now all of the metal. I think. Bacon, they've only made a few in the past few years, none of which I'm familiar with. Oh, really? Madhouse. I think my first introduction to Madhouse was Ninja Scroll. I think that's the first time I heard the name Madhouse. And that very specific way that they would draw faces in Ninja Scroll, I kind of associated that with Madhouse's style, although that's not really necessarily how it works. I mean, they've definitely produced other works that don't have that visual style. Okay, so what are we working on next? I think we have to think about what we're going to do for the part that's underneath the wrapping here. Underneath the wrapping, and it's kind of extending across this chest. And I'm not really sure. Let's take a look at our paint and decide. Maybe a neutral kind of like... Maybe this kind of brown. This really dark brown. That might work. Because I don't want to use like pink or anything, right? Like something distracting. We just need to kind of... In fact, we might cover everything else in this brown, from the straps to the skull here and the wood. Maybe we'll just use this charred brown. It's gonna look a little glossy, but again, I'm kind of okay with that. I feel like afterwards we'll hit this with a some matte coating and it'll be kind of fine. Kinda. Mika, I recently completed Vinland Saga and that was great. Ah, Mika. I've read some of Vinland Saga, but I didn't read too much, and I watched about one or two seasons of the 1 or 2 episodes of the anime. I thought it was quite good, but I should come back to that. It was... I like historical stories, and a lot of people actually recommend Vinland Saga when it comes to looking for other manga that's similar to Berserk. I'm not saying that Vinland Saga is exactly like Berserk, but I've heard some crossover recommendations between the two. So yeah, I should check that out. I'm just shaking this paint, by the way, guys. Let's just catch up on the chat while I do a bit of shaking. Shake. Agent, I'll tell you what Madhouse needs to do next. Ippo Season 4, yeah. Season 4 and 5, 6. I don't know how far they would get. I really like the music in Ippo too. Like all the intro songs and the outro songs. I actually really like them. Bacon, I don't even remember where they left off in Season 3. Oh, where they left off in Season 3, it was the final story in Season 3 was Coach Kanagawa's backstory, like post World War II. Do you remember that? It was amazing, actually. It was kind of like that movie. It was kind of like Ip Man, but with like Japanese boxers rather than a martial artist. It was so good. It was so good, dude. Let me clean up this cap here. Or can I actually get some of this paint? I'm not really used to these dropper bottles, but they do have their quirks. I know a lot of people crap on the Citadel paint bottles like this, because a lot of paint ends up getting gunked up in the lid. But I feel like these dropper bottles also have their weird quirks where Yeah, some paint just tends to leak out in a way that is not good. All right. Bacon, completely off topic. I just had someone check out our furnace, and I heard him go, "Whoa!" when he saw the Lego table. Yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome. Whoa, little Keanu. Whoa, whoa. I wonder. So this paint here, I was saying earlier, is glossy. I wonder if I can add a bit of matte medium to it to kind of, well, make it less glossy. Let's try. Oh, you know what? My this let's see. This mixing medium is probably let's not bother. This mixing medium I have here from P3, I think it's slightly glossy anyways. Let's not bother. I was gonna do that. All right. Let's catch up on the chat. Bacon, the flashback. Yeah, the flashback was awesome. Nika, Kenyan Ashura was good. It's a fighting anime? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I've seen some pictures of that. It only gets gunked if you don't take care of the paint and the bottles. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I do tend to be very careful with the paint and getting things out, and I still have to clean them up periodically, but yeah, I do definitely take care of my bottles. Bacon, I've heard a lot of good things about that one. Would you say it's as good as Baki? Mika, Kengan, Ashura was good. I don't particularly like Baki, so my opinion is biased, but I'd say it's a good anime. Agent, the soundtrack is so good. Kamagawa Side Story ended season 3. It was amazing. Agree, agree. Especially since they dedicated the series to the voice actor who passed away. Yeah, I heard about that as well. Let me just make sure there's no dust particles on this. Okay, let's actually get this. Let's kind of put some paint on this big old axe here. Axe handle. What's easier? Yeah, there's something very like 90s or something about the soundtrack for Hajime no Ippo that I just really enjoyed. Yeah, so this paint it might end up looking a little glossy, but we can address that after. Just gonna hit this baby with a lot of a lot of matte spray. Hopefully that will tone things down. Yeah, ideally, as I was saying, I'd like to cover everything on this model with some paint. Hopefully we can do that. And I want to finish this guy like this month. If you want to sit back and listen to a great commentary on why Ippo is such a great series, check out Super Eye Patch Wolf on YouTube. Great analysis. I am familiar with Eye Patch Wolf. I'm not sure if I've actually watched that episode. I should check that out. I've watched his recent video regarding like Shonen Jump, like the latest lineup of Shonen Jump manga. I always find that he does that just about every year. I find that very interesting because, you know, I just want to know what's going on with the future of Jump. It's kind of like, it's almost the thing that decides what's going to be the next big anime. At least as far as shonen action manga goes, kind of. Like if you can hop on board the next big Shonen Jump manga, then most assuredly you will be ahead of schedule, and you'll be you can show off and say that you were into X, whatever X is, before everyone else when the anime version comes out, right? It's like, man, I was into Chainsaw Man before it got popular. If you want to go on an acid trip, watch the video about Garfield. Yeah, so I didn't watch the Garfield one. Maybe because I didn't want to see all the weirdness. I feel like I kind of knew what I was getting into. Like, same with the Sonic one, right? The whole Sonic thing. I was like, okay, okay, I get it. It's weird. People get really weird about Sonic. I get it. I don't know if I need to dwell on this. But yeah, maybe I should check it out, Garfield. The Undertale one was really good too. It was just really neat seeing how creative people are. All the creative things that people have done with Undertale, creating their own like side stories and uh, side universes or whatever you want to call it. That was neat. I like that. And yeah, there's some weirdness too with Undertale, for sure. But I guess it just comes with the territory with any kind of fandom, right? Like whether it be Sonic or Garfield or whatever. Eventually, the weirdos come out and get all sexual with it or whatever. Bacon, I didn't watch that one. I thought you did. No, 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 no. Didn't watch it. Didn't watch it. I saw that it was a thing, but I didn't watch it. I probably should. Feel like I'll be subjecting myself to it, to the weirdness. It's been over 12,000 days since we got a chapter. Which one? Oh, hiatus. Oh no. Oh no. 12,000 days. Bacon, I find myself going back and watching his video on Hunter x Hunter once in a while. Ancient getting into hiatus is a experiment in masochism. Makes me sad. 12 1200. I said 12,000. 1200 days. Holy. Let's mix up the music real quick. I think we've heard enough of Aria of the Soul for one day. What else we got? What else we got? Do do do. Yeah, let's go with some ease. Ease is suitably anime-ish sounding, since we're all talking about anime. Man, that really sucks about Hunter x Hunter. Do you think see, this is what needs to happen. We need to get like someone really rich, like a basketball player or Elon Musk, to get into Hunter x Hunter, and then he'll get super into it, and then it ends, right? And then he'll be like, "Damn it, I'm just gonna throw a lot of money at Tomino, is that his name? I'm gonna throw a lot of money his way, and I'm gonna buy him like a huge team, whatever he needs, AI to like generate stories, ideas, artwork, whatever, and then we can finish it, so I can just get the story finished. That's what it's gonna take. It's gonna take some kind of billionaire to throw a bunch of money at his face and just say, finish it. Finish it. I think Hunter x Hunter is like an amazing story, and I've only read I've only watched the anime, never read the manga, but I just think it's one of those things that I don't know. It's just so good, and yeah, it really bums me out that it's not finished. Bacon, the Chimera Ant arc itself is a miracle. Felt like it took a decade for that to finish. The manga version, that is. Yeah, I remember when I mentioned to you that I was watching the anime, you're like, you are so lucky to just join in and watch it now. Imagine waiting, X amount of years for the story, for like chapter after chapter, right? Months. Imagine waiting months for the next chapter to come out. Now that I'm all caught up, I'm just like everyone else. At least as far as the anime goes. I did read some plot details of where it's at presently, as well as there's like a lot of YouTube videos out there where they talk about the current state of the manga, and I find those to be pretty useful, just because the manga is a little hard to read for me. Like I find the artwork to be kind of not amazing, kind of not great, and it kind of gets in the way of me wanting to read it. The constant fear of not knowing when he'll go on hiatus. hiatus. Man. Things like that happen in the American comic book world too. Like notably Joe Madureira, who made a name for himself doing X-Men, but then broke off on his own and created a comic called Battle Chasers, and that was another instance of a story just stopping, like in the middle of everything, right? And basically we haven't seen a new chapter of Battle Chasers for, I don't know, like 20 years or something ridiculous like that. But Joe Madureira has kind of gone on to work in the video game industry, and notably he worked on he created the Darksiders franchise, and he even made a Battle Chasers game where presumably the story has continued in video game form. And many people attribute his enjoyment of video games as a factor in the lateness in the production of his manga. So it's funny that video games ended up being like the savior for it, that would then go on to continue the story. Bacon, it's a shame since he is capable of amazing art. The Sensui, if I'm saying that right, arc in Yu Yu Hakusho is probably his peak. Yeah, I should, man. What do you think is better, to read Yu Yu Hakusho or to watch the anime? What do you think is better? Because I actually did read a couple of arcs or chapters of Yu Yu Hakusho, but I felt like at the point where I had been reading, it had yet to really develop into its fully formed style, I guess. It was still like, I don't know if you want to call it a gag manga, but it was still like a very different kind of manga in the early days of Yu Yu Hakusho. Okay, I think we need to get more paint. Oh, and I'm also realizing that there's more parts that need to get some gold or bronze paint. We'll get to that. But what I think I'm gonna do is just take a little break, make sure the hands don't get cramped up, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of stretch out those fingers. And get a drink of coffee. The anime is decent, but I personally prefer the manga. Alright. How long have we been streaming for? An hour and 30, so that's not too bad. Not too bad. We've got just about an hour and a half to go before I reach my max limit and I explode. How about we take a little break now, guys, and then when I get back, we can get back to painting. This is the status of our model thus far, and I think yeah, we're on track to at least lay down a coat of paint on every part of the model. So yeah, let's take a break, and when I get back, we'll continue, I guess. So, see you on the other side.